Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Tekken Tips Sunday on a Tuesday. I had a good day in the lab, as it were, and thought I would record a quick episode, especially since I attended my first offline local in over a year recently. 2 weekends ago, 1 weekend ago. Needless to say, it was amazing. Nothing beats offline Tekken. It's not even comparable to online Tekken, but I mean, online Tekken is how we got by and how we got through coronavirus, I guess. So yeah, this week I really wanted to bring you, I think, a tip that helps helped me at least, and has helped people I've talked to kind of improve when they feel like they're plateauing specifically. Like, I don't really know what to improve, or I have perfect knowledge in this matchup, which isn't really true, but you have really good knowledge in the matchup and you still struggle with it. And that tip is essentially improving your speed of thought during the match. Now, this obviously has kind of a precondition that you're thinking during the match, which not everyone does. But I'm assuming that you're at that level where, like, while you're playing, you're actively thinking, you're actively understanding situations. You can recognize patterns in your opponent. You can recognize patterns in yourself, um, and flaws that might be in your game, like during the game. So 60 seconds in a round, you're actively thinking, you're reflecting on what you've done in different situations. Now, I think that this tip applies to anyone at any level. Even probably, Arslan Ash probably works on this because speed of thought is really something that you can almost necessarily improve. It's different from reaction time, right? You can improve your reactions in Tekken a lot by just playing against a certain character and really understanding their moves, and your brain just makes the connection between that character and that animation, and it's like it just magically improves your reaction time. But there is still somewhat of a ceiling on that. And furthermore, I don't think reaction time will necessarily make the difference between you and your opponent, assuming there's like a decent skill gap. If you're really close, obviously everything comes into play. But if you're consistently losing to someone, reaction time probably isn't gonna, get you over the hump. But thinking quickly might. And so let me give an example actually of how I got knocked out of the local tournament. And it was actually because my thinking and my thoughts during the match and in-match analysis were just too slow. So I was playing a Marduk player, and listen to this, I broke 8 out of 9 throws. I broke 1 out of 3 tackles in mount, but I broke a lot of the tackles before going into mount with 1+2, and I broke a lot of throws that match. I think it was like 8 out of 9, and I lost. And that means that's a huge problem. If you're nearing like 80 to 90% throw breaks against a grappler character, especially someone who's throwing out a lot of throws, and you lose, something went seriously wrong in that match. And what went seriously wrong in that match was the patterns that I realized, and the habits that I realized my opponent had hit me when it was too late. So there were two patterns that got me. One was on heavy, heavy minus frames. We're talking -9, -11, where they can block. Like that level of minus, he was doing power crush. My opponent was doing the high Marduk power crush. That one is -10, which I didn't know. That's a matchup knowledge, but I knew it was high. And it took me the third time where he was -9 and did that for me to realize that's something he did. And I got hit by it 3 times. I got hit by it 3 times, and on the fourth time, I knew it was gonna come, and my brain just didn't let my fingers not press a button because I was +9. Like, there's literally the only thing he can do in that situation pretty much is power crush if I'm going for a mid or block. but I knew he wasn't going to block. And that really cost me rounds. That cost me rounds. Eating that power crush. And the big reason why it cost me rounds is the second situation that I wasn't processing fast enough, which was that after that power crush, run up, down forward 2 with Marduk is a back roll catch for a full combo. So let's just break down the situation. I got in a situation where I was +9 with a slash kick or legend kick on block, which is hard to do because you can get jabbed out of or sidestepped very easily. And it led to my opponent getting a full combo plus counter hit power crush damage. And every other situation, I was essentially outplaying my opponent. Whiff punishes were on point. In rounds, I would be consistently up in rounds. And I would just get like so excited. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna slash it, get my chunky mids in and like live life. Easy win. But once that happened, I lost the round because that led to, okay, so we have full combo plus power crush damage plus wall carry. You're at the wall against Marduk. And that signal, that oh snap, he's literally not respecting -9. That should have happened the first time. The first time that happened, my brain should have fired. I should have thought, okay, next situation, I'm going to see what he does. I'm going to block. Or better yet, I'm going to down 4. Because he has pretty much nothing that will be a 12 frame down 4. Or maybe down forward 1, 3. Hit him with a mid-low that would interrupt the power crush and still check if you went for the power crush. And yeah, the back roll thing, again, I realized it was a back roll catch, but my brain wasn't processing the situation fast enough to get rid of the habit in the game. And that's applying to my level and my matchup. Obviously, if I had more matchup experience with the back roll catch, that's more or less a non-factor, but I didn't. And so it really came down to the speed of thought. And that situation, I think, exists at any level of Tekken, just in different degrees, right? So maybe at the highest level, Arslan Ash versus Knee Evo Grand Finals, Arslan Ash commented on this in his breakdown. Knee was jabbing too much. And Knee's jabs led to Arslan sidestepping in a lot of situations and getting damage or getting initiative. And Arslan Ash realized that in the match, but Knee didn't until it was too late and he had to switch off Kazuya. But his Kazuya pick was actually working pretty well, except for the over-reliance on jabs. And so how do you get better at this? How do you practice this? Well, here's what I do. I think there's a lot of different ways. One, there's playing seriously as just a general way of getting better. So maybe when you play, you're pretty relaxed, but actually playing with some pressure on yourself is one way to get better at this. Practice mode and just being aware of situations is one way to get better. But what I've been doing recently since that match, and I find it pretty helpful, is during a match and online or offline, but online's where I mainly practice, every situation that leads back into a neutral kind of big separation of space between me and my opponent, I'll recount in my brain. I'll try and recount in my brain what happened in the last like scuffle. Okay, so maybe I run up, I see my opponents respecting like my ability to attack. I do a down forward 1, and I'm gonna do a jab. So I'm gonna do down forward 1 jab and just see what happens. Well, I do down forward 1, I get counter hit magic forward into a combo, and let's say it's infinite stage. When I wake up, let's say there's no Oki really, I'm going to recount. I'm going to think, okay, how did that happen? Okay, I did down forward 1, -2, 11 frame magic 4, got counter hit. And let's just break that down into another situation. Okay, maybe I'm playing a king player, and he goes in for rolling death cradle, but let's say I break wrong. I'm breaking rolling death cradle, but it was dragon sleeper. And then it's like, okay, we have to remember that situation. We have to think about that situation. So every time there's a neutral reset, try and recount the last situation you were in. And even if you can't learn anything from it, which, maybe you always can, but let's say, you know, where you are in the game, you can't really learn anything from it, you can't interpret it. At least you thought about it. At least you recounted it. And then when you do get into situations where you can learn from it, then you'll be able to take that information and process it quicker and in game. It's really the in game thing because, of course, after the tournament loss, I knew exactly what I had to do. I went to practice mode and labbed everything. But to really level up, and you can always improve on this, I think. It's to have that adaptability and that speed of thought in game. And I recommend just trying out, actively thinking, trying to think about every situation in an online match. Again, once you reset to neutral, because obviously when you're in the scruff, in the thick of it, it's really hard to think about what's happening, like, or adjust your play style while it's happening. But once you get reset in a neutral, think about it. In between rounds, think about it. What was the big turning point of that round? How did I win that round? How did I lose that round? So yeah, that's it for this Tekken Tip Sundays on a Tuesday. Tekken Talk episode hopefully coming soon. I really have to be in the mood because it's probably going to be a pretty long episode. We're gonna talk about how to get involved in local Tekken and your local Tekken scene, or how to maybe make one if you feel like you don't have one. And we're also going to break down the current top 5 players in the world, power rankings, sports center style. Who are the top 5 best Tekken players and why? In the next episode of Tekken Talk. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day.